This is Andres with AA Construction LLC. I'm the owner and founder and operator of AA Construction LLC. Basically, we're a general contractor that specializes in custom homes, detached garages, major renovations, in-house concrete services, and outdoor living as well. We're gonna give you guys a quick tour of the project that we've been working on for the past couple months. Finally done, so we're excited to give you guys a full tour. We're gonna start off with the front, go over exactly what was done in the front, go into details, so we'll give you guys a quick tour of that. What we have here is a little pop-out drain. This right here, whenever it rains, the water pushes that thing up, so then that way the water can just go straight into the curb. And right there, that one's feeding off of is the gutters in the front on the left side of the house. And then there's another one on this other side right here. And then this one right here is basically only has one gutter, which is right there on the carport. So that's what we have here in terms of drainage. So that way all that water that goes into the roof doesn't go directly into the property or to the neighbors. It goes straight down into the street like it should be. The other thing too that we did outside is we did concrete ribbons. The homeowner was actually very close to 45% impervious coverage limit that the city of Austin has on each property. What that means is whether it's concrete, house, carport, detached garage, deck, any surface that doesn't allow the water to go straight down into the ground and filter into the aquifer counts against that percentage. So your limit is 45% to the point where we had to break out some concrete in order to get down to that percentage. These ribbons are made so then that way we can not have this whole gap counting against that percentage. So that's the purpose of that. And what we have here is an automatic gate opener. We'll show you guys how that works. You basically just punch in your code, pound, and then it opens the gate. And while that's opening, the other thing too that we had to do is we had to remove the stepping stones in order to pass final inspection, and then unfortunately put them back together. Client's aware that if for whatever reason the city of Austin finds out, then that's her responsibility. One of those details that we had to do in order to pass final. So this gate right here is a lift master system. It's not your cheap little rinky-dinky Amazon lift system.
Hey, thank you for being a customer.
This is one of the top of the line gate systems that you could have gotten for this purpose. It has a keypad in the front, so when you pull up and you have guests that don't have the clicker, they just punch in the code and then you get in. You have the little sensor like you have in the garage doors that if somebody's walking through, a little kid is walking through, it doesn't close up on them and hurt somebody or damage a vehicle. This little patch right here is where we had to dig a trench in order to kick out the water from the gutter right here in the front of the house, on the right side of the house. We had to also modify this because the homeowner never had grass growing in this area because there's not enough sunlight hitting it, so she basically just asked us to continue the steel edging and then basically put black star gravel. The other thing too here that we did is a keypad door that allows people to have access through code. Once you punch in the code, it locks, but from the inside you can open it. It's actually a pretty expensive system, so we had that as well. We'll go to the other side and give you guys a tour of the back. We actually did this custom. Like these little slats and everything in here is custom. This right here is, in my opinion, very overkill design by the engineer, but the way they design it is the way that the permit approved, and that's the way we got to build it because we got to pass inspections. We don't build it like the engineer designed it, we don't pass inspections, and then we get stuck. So this is a 4x4 inch, quarter-inch steel post, and then we have a 4-inch by 12-inch, quarter-inch wall steel beam. We have steel angles that run across like this every 2 feet. We also have the board in between the sandwich, and that's how we're able to attach the soffit into it, and then also the sheething to have below the metal roof that we have, which is seamless metal roof. We put little gutters here, little nice detail here by my gutter guy. He's actually pretty good. He does everything nice and clean, so you don't even notice it. A good gutter job is something that's gonna take the water from the roof and then reroute it outside the property and then not noticeable. That's what he accomplished, so he did a good job there. Client went ahead and bought some planter boxes, custom fiberglass planter boxes, and these are like $1,000 a piece. We have the bamboo, it's barely hanging in there with this Texas heat, but it'll be fine. And if not, we'll just replant some new ones for her. So that's what we have here, the little wood fence. And then the meat, the potato, the detached garage. Basically, it's a 16 by 24 detached garage, 10-foot walls. It's got 2 gables, so it makes it kind of a T. It's got 3 windows at each gable, and then it's got half of the interior is gonna be lofted, and half of it is gonna be vaulted. We insulated it on both the walls and the ceiling, so that way later down the line, if she wants to condition it and make that like a guest house, she can do that. The slope is that way where the sewage is at. And this detached garage up there on the top is pretty nice. Actually, we put some LVP flooring with some underlayment, and then we painted baseboard trim, everything top of the line. It's not gonna be your standard, you see the little tape and stuff in there still from the previous owner or the installer. So that's what we have there. And here what we have is a pretty large composite deck. It's not the mid-grade, but the one right above the mid-grade. It took us a couple days. These composite steps are actually sitting on concrete, so these things are not gonna go anywhere. We use treated wood for all the frame, and then we do joist tape on top of every single wood member. A lot of people don't do these miters on the corners. They just kind of overlap them and it looks nasty. And then a lot of people don't do the overhangs. They just kind of put this and then make it flush, so then that way you can butt up, and it looks sloppy. It looks amateur in my opinion. So we don't do that. We do the overhang. We do the miter here and then here too. This composite deck is not gonna go anywhere. I mean, it's sitting on 3 feet of concrete for the concrete piers. It's got triple 2x8 beams every 10 feet, or every 8 feet actually. 2x6 joists every 16 inches on center. This thing's not gonna go anywhere. The client actually went ahead and got a custom awning built for her here. Composite decking is good, and this is actually supposed to be like heat resistant and cool decking technology, but between 2 to about 6 can't really stand on it. Especially barefoot, you can't stand on it. So that's why she got the awning, and then that's why she got her lounge area here. And this right here is what I consider the landscaping package, which is basically steel edging there. We use 3/16 thick wall on that steel edging, and then we have an 1.5 inch along this right here, and then that way it's not gonna go anywhere. We're 4 foot on center, so that way, you know, we can get the curve, the natural curve, and we have to have 2% slope, so then that way the actual water drains properly. And since they're gonna have pets sometime in the future, you don't wanna have your poop and your pee just sit here and stink. Not very fun or comfortable for you to be sitting out here having a drink and then you smelling dog poop or pee. She picked out the plants. She got a landscape designer to help her identify the trees, but the client actually picked out all those plants there. That was her idea. And one of the things about this detached garage is this little custom awning here that they designed. So that right there is like, you know, the steel angle, and then we had to get creative to make it work the way that the engineer designed it and the architect too. So basically we did a custom tongue and groove boards there as your decking, because it had to be thick in order to withstand the whole span. They wanted to have a 3-foot span, and that could sag, and then there's seamless metal on the top, so if it sags it's gonna bubble up or break the metal roof. So we had to get creative there, and we had to do a custom tongue and groove to make it work so that it's strong and it's gonna last a while. And then the other thing too that we did is, before we did anything, the neighbor has a pool over there. So what happens is when you have a pool, it has a lot of weight because it wants to move. It's a lot of water is heavy, especially when you have a decent sized pool, which is about the size of this deck.
I'm not fat, I'm big boned.
So it created a surge, and what was there before, the fence posts were all like leaning. They were actually installed in pretty decently, but it's the surge of the soil that was moving them. So the solution was to do a new retaining wall that was 4 feet below from the top to the bottom, because otherwise we would have to go back to review, get it designed, because that wasn't designed by the engineer, that was done by us, because it's 4 feet and below. If you're taller than 4 feet, you had to get it engineered, and since we already had a building permit, you had to get through the review process, which could take weeks. It was going to set us back 6 weeks, and we just did it 4 feet and below, and we made it work. Basically like 16 inches thick, 4 foot max, and then it's got stirrups every 12 inches, and then we got 2 number 5s on top and bottom, and then we got number 4s coming across on the middle. And you know, that thing is not gonna go anywhere. I mean, it's on average it's like 16 inches below grade, and it's like a pretty beefy wall. 25 yards of concrete it took, and 4,000 psi the strength of that concrete, so that's not gonna go anywhere. On top of that, we built a nice little wood fence. This fence right here is not your cheap 5/8 cedar picket from China. This right here is 3/4 true thickness. Thing's not gonna go anywhere because we also put a board in the center, and then it's installed on galvanized post. That looks pretty nice, especially once it's stained. And what we did here in the back is ran a router through each one of these boards. In the front and in the back, we ran a router through. Took one person 3 days to just reroute them, everything. So then that way, like whenever they shrink, because wood is always gonna shrink over time, you don't see the gap. So this right here would be a gap, and then somebody back there would be able to see what you're doing here. She wanted privacy, but she didn't want to have something that was not gonna last long. So this right here will last for years. So this is as much as it's gonna shrink. It's not gonna get any thinner than this, and it's gonna give her privacy that she wanted, because her daughter lives here. So she wants her daughter to be safe. We did that for her to make it long-term solution for the problem that she had, which was privacy. Project took us 5 months from start to finish, with different delays from the city of Austin engineer and architect. We had to hammer out the scope of work. We do pricing. It slows things down. I keep saying that's not gonna go anywhere, because that's kind of our motto, is like we build things for the long term, not for the short term. We're gonna build something for you. Even if I have to lose a little bit of money, I'd rather do that than build something that you're gonna call me back and say, hey, you gotta come fix this. It ends up being cheaper for me actually to fix it and do it right the first time than cutting corners and then come back later. Or in some cases, some people don't even come back. We don't work like that. Everything that we do here is for the long term. That's our motto. And this right here, for instance, this right here, it was too high. So we took it upon ourselves to lower it down, because if you come in high and then you gotta step down and then you're gonna step up again, it didn't make any sense. We had to report it. That was out of my pocket. That was my decision to pour at that elevation, and so we fixed it. So things like that, that's how we work. We don't want to leave an unsatisfied client when they're spending the amount of money that she spent for a full transformation of her property. Every single nook and cranny in the exterior of this property, we touched everything. The other thing too, the client wanted the main electrical meter was there. She wanted it out of the way, so then that way it could be aesthetically pleasing and not have a big old panel there that could also be hazardous. So then we moved it off to the right took us a couple weeks to get all this whole situation sorted out between Austin Energy, City of Austin, inspectors and all that stuff. But this used to be over there on the right side, and we had to do a custom shiplap over there too. We had to use our router because we can't get that anywhere. You can't just go to Home Depot or Lowe's to buy that, so we had to make that out of scratch on our own. And that's what we do. We figure out what the solution is on our own. We're not sitting there trying to cut corners and stuff like that. We do it right. And then we put lighting for her here too, for the carport, gutters in the whole house. Speaking of drainage, one thing that I wanted to show, we did a custom concrete basin. And this right here is basically gonna have all the water that comes in, and it's just gonna take it all in. And then it's gonna send it that way and then turn back. And then back there, we have a steel edging retaining wall behind the property because the property was brought down like 1.5 feet in total. We had to put a retaining wall in the back, but because we also were like spending a lot of money, we just did it out of steel edging, 1/4-inch wall on 2x11 gauge posts embedded in concrete. That thing's not gonna go anywhere. It has perforated pipe and gravel and all that stuff, so that way if there's like a surge of water coming in, it's gonna reroute it and it's gonna kick it out the property. We don't want the property to be flooded. And this custom logo for her favorite college football team that she went to school for, we just took it upon ourselves to give her a little present at the end of the project. So that's who we are. You know, we take care of our clients. People pay good money, give people what they paid for. We do custom homes, we do detached garages, outdoor living, we do concrete services. So give us a call. We're here to help you guys.